Welcome to Let's Roger That. I'm Gilles. Today, we're going to do a little bit of sound deadening in the old tractor cab. It's sounding a bit like a drum in there. Sound is bouncing back and forth, and it feels pretty loud. So, let's get to it. One of the things that I'm going to do in order to lower the volume or the reverberation in there is to apply some sound deadening material. Now this stuff here is kind of like a heavy rubber, if you will. And what it's going to do is going to basically, firm up the surfaces that kind of act as a drum skin. The other thing that I'm going to do is once I've applied the sound deadening material, I'm going to apply this foam on top of it. And this particular foam is made for soundproofing cars, so it has the ability to attenuate or absorb, shall we say, certain frequencies so that they don't reflect back and forth. So basically, say you have a huge sound and it goes into this thing at for certain frequencies, then these frequencies will bounce back in a reduced manner. So the intensity of the sound is going to be reduced. Now, these products are available on Amazon and whatnot by a company called Noico. So if you're looking to do some soundproofing of a car, etc., that's good for you. In my case, we're not talking about soundproofing because there's too many crevices and nooks and crannies that the sound from the outside will travel inside, like the motor sound, etc., and I can't change any of that. So basically, I'm trying to reduce the reflections that are going on inside the cab. And these products should help with that. So one of the interesting phenomenon is once I had this cab built for my tractor, and you got the door closed, it's really like a drum inside that thing, and it feels really, really loud. And I always wear ear defenders, but it hits is not enough. Now, when we look inside this cab, there's some natural locations where sound deadening is going to go. Wherever there's a flat spot like this, the ceiling, of course, that reverberates a lot. Even though that's 1/8 thick or 3/16 thick metal, it still vibrates. So we're gonna have to take care of that best we can. In the back here, these plates. All right, so let's do a little test. Find out what kind of noise is happening here. So it's pretty low frequency, right? That's a little tighter, and that's normal because it's pretty close. But nevertheless, there'll be noise generated and reflected, created by this thing. But this thing, by far, sounds like a drum. So I suspect that if we actually put some sound insulation up here, that it will reduce the noise in here significantly. So let's get started. To cut this stuff is pretty easy. Once you've got a measure, take a box cutter and just cut it. That's it. Easy peasy. Just like that. All right, so I've got the sound insulator here. The first piece, that's gonna go at the back of the cab. So let's go install that thing. Now before you take off that glue backing here, make sure you dry fit your piece, right? Don't mess with that, because once it's on, it's on. All right. So you see I need to make some adjustments here. That could go further back, and that'll clear that. So I need to clear this. Just about a 1/2 inch cut. Okay, I've got that 1/2 inch adjustment made. Let's do a dry fit. You see it's not that easy to hold. Okay, put that where I want it here. Okay, and that's not too bad. Now what about this side? And that side fits very nicely. Okay, so way to do this is you start, usually they recommend that you only take off a little bit of the backing at a time, and to be quite honest, it's probably good advice. But I'm not going to do that. Now, one thing I am going to do is start in the middle. Okay. Now, once you got that on there, it ain't coming out, so make sure you do this correctly. Okay, you want to be straight. All right. Okay, looks good. All right. So now I've got this started out. Take off the rest of this puppy and then slowly install the sound dampener. That should probably take a little while. Make sure you take the air bubbles out as you go, because once you're done, that's it. There's no changing it. Of course, this is a small cab, so there's not a lot of room to work. All right, in place. You can always trim things later, but don't fully adhere those surfaces where there's adjustments required. I can already tell the difference in sound. There's a lot less reflection, and so I just need to, I'm going to take a roller and roll this correctly. Right. This is the roller I'm talking about. It's pretty hefty, and you need that really to correctly glue this thing and take the air pockets out of it. That's doing a great job. Now, this is going to be the challenge right here. My cab has a crease, or 4 creases I should say, in order to drain the water off its root. Okay, believe it or not, that's all the effort I needed to put into it. Okay. Now, I'm going to fill these gaps later. That's okay, I don't mind. And now I'm going to proceed and do the rest of the ceiling. Now already tell the noise difference in here. All right, the ceiling is done as good as I want it to be, or as good as it needs to be. And then this panel and that panel. Now, any large panel is going to create reverberations, and that's what I'm trying to attenuate. So to know if you want to do that surface, hit it. See, that's there's not a lot of reverberations here. So don't worry about that one. But now let's look at the door. Sounds like a drum, doesn't it? So we're gonna do that surface. Check this one. Well, it's a little tighter, so it's not quite as bad. But I'll probably do that as well. So let's take care of those doors. Now, although I'm doing all of this application of this sound deadening stuff, you have to remember that in my tractor, the unit is not completely sealed, see? And that's really on purpose. And that's quite all right. The builders advised me that the new units tend to sweat inside during the winter because of the heat. There's too much of it, no way for the humidity to get out. So in my case, it's better to actually leave it this way, I believe. And you recommended that, so that's what I did. Now, so basically we're not gonna have sound isolation in here, we're gonna have sound attenuation, right? We're trying to prevent the sound from bouncing around and basically multiplying itself. So that's what this is about. I mean, if you're in a drum, it's the same thing. Shove your head in it and have somebody hit on it and see what happens. You'll know right away. Now, you probably don't know this, but I was also a sound engineer, so that is why I have a little bit of knowledge towards this application. All right, so I've applied as much sound attenuation as I want to install here behind the seat. I'll show you again. Here we go. That sort of thing, right? So now what I want to do is apply some frequency attenuator. It'll probably, quite frankly, reduce some of the mid range frequencies, you know, from 300 hertz to, or perhaps 400 hertz up to, you know, 1500 hertz, that sort of thing. It's not the best application, but it's just, it is what it is. Any kind of improvement will do the trick here. So, if I were to stick my head in here, you can tell it's still have reverberations, clearly. 1, 2. But let's see what happens with the other stuff, the foam. Let's go. Okay, so now I'm going to apply this foam stuff, and we'll see after I install this what frequencies were attenuated or not. All right, basically applies the same way as the other stuff. You expose the glue. Yeah, it's very sticky. Okay. Simple as that. Make sure you rub it correctly so that everything is stuck. And just keep on trucking. All right, now let's go on from there. The frequency dampeners are installed as much as I want them to be. Let's face it here, this is not a recording studio sound booth. I'm just trying to lower the amount of sounds that bother me. So let's open up the garage door and start her up. This is an older tractor. Oh, and you see there's quite a bit of reverb in here still, but that's okay, right? I need to apply the glow plug in order to heat up the cylinder. Press down the clutch, give it a whirl. Honestly, I wasn't expecting a whole lot of change, but once I put my head protection on, I perceived there was less noise, or the noise wasn't quite as loud. So, you know, is it scientifically proven at this point that there's been a reduction in noise in my cab? Not really. But do I feel like there's a slight reduction in especially frequencies that bother my ears? Yes. So that's just my perception, of course. So the only way to truly reduce sound in here would be to completely block all of the openings to the outside. The other thing would have to apply, you know, an interior like there is in most commercial cabs out there that are very, very expensive. And that's simply not something that I require. I use my tractor to plow in the winter time. That's when the doors are on. In the summertime, the doors are open and doesn't feel as loud at all because there's no reverberations. So that's about it. That was about a couple hours work. No big deal. So anyway, if you thought that this was interesting, please like and subscribe. Shoot me a comment if you like. I always like to hear from you. Take care. Bye-bye. Welcome to Let's Start of That. Welcome to Let's Start of That.